Hello guys, Coach Carroll here with Sports Banner 38, and today we're just going to talk about last night's game and some of the media's take on the Cleveland Browns and Baker Mayfield's first shot at action, just because, he got in because Tyrod Taylor suffered a concussion and was taken out, and all signs point to the start of the Baker Mayfield uh, whatever you want to call it, his reign as an NFL quarterback. And well, based off of last night's game, of course, they were at home. They won 21-17. Sam Darnold was started for the New York Jets. He was one of the top quarterbacks coming out of the draft as well. So as long as Baker Mayfield's in the NFL, him and Sam Darnold and Rosen, who is with Arizona, I believe, are going to be compared to each other. That's just the nature of the game. Sam Darnold was 15 of 31 for 169 yards with 2 interceptions, so he did not play very well. Baker Mayfield came in when Tyrod Taylor went down, and the offense actually started moving a whole lot better. Tyrod Taylor was playing pretty bad. I thought he was 4 of 14 for 19 yards, so he pretty much didn't do anything anyway. Of course, Coach Hugh Jackson had indicated that Tyrod Taylor was going to be the starter. He did not intend on putting Baker Mayfield in at any point during the season, according to him. I don't know if it was any point during the season necessarily, but he had made it clear that Tyrod Taylor was his starter. But Baker Mayfield, was to keep competing, and just keep improving. Well, last night when Baker Mayfield came in, the offense starts moving the ball more consistently. He didn't have any touchdown passes, but he was 17 of 23 passing for 201 yards. So, and he was I don't know who watched the game, but he was firing that ball in there. He looked the part by far. And of course, he had some help with Carlos Hyde, who had 98 yards on 23 carries with a couple touchdowns. But make no mistake, Mayfield did get them in position to score. Jarvis Landry had 8 receptions for 103 yards. They look like they have a fairly decent team. I feel like Baker Mayfield gives them that little extra spark. Personally, my pick was if Baker Mayfield started at least 10 games, I felt like he would be the NFL Rookie of the Year or Offensive Rookie of the Year. And of course, you got Colin Cowherd, who is he's not saying he played bad, but he's saying it's just one game and this and that, and it's true. But he's kind of putting it off. Oh, so and so, Sam Darnold, he looked great last week. He didn't look good this week. That's the NFL. He's more or less just speaking things that we already know. Ain't nobody is here saying that Baker Mayfield is the greatest to ever walk the earth or anything like that. But he also is saying, he's never going to be as good as Drew Brees. Which, if he's not as good, if he's just 3/4 as good as Drew Brees, he's going to have a good career and he could potentially be a Hall of Famer. If he gets Cleveland to the playoffs for however many years out of his career, or a Super Bowl, imagine that, then he's going to have a shot to be a Hall of Famer. Now that's looking way too far. I don't know if he's going to be that good or not. I do believe he'll be Rookie of the Year, and I feel like he'll add spark to the Browns. I feel like he'll have at least a decent career, potentially a better career, depending on how this team management does. Colin Cowherd also says that he doesn't believe Baker Mayfield will be as good as Russell Wilson. Now, I was one of those people who wasn't saying Russell Wilson won Super Bowls just because of the team he was on, although he was on a good team. Let's make no mistake about it. I felt like Russell Wilson brought something to the table. I had him picked as my number 3 quarterback coming out of that same draft with the RG3 and Andrew Luck and those guys. And, he didn't get picked till later in the draft. I think it was 4th, 5th round, somewhere around there. I don't remember exactly. but he was not being billed as a top quarterback coming out of that draft. I felt like he was number 3 on the list. I liked Russell Wilson. I honestly believe that Baker Mayfield can be better than Russell Wilson. I don't think he has to win a Super Bowl to do it. I mean, you got to look at the situations. Mayfield is with Cleveland. Russell Wilson with Seattle, when Seattle was more or less just a quarterback away from really contending. And once they got Russell Wilson, they started to contend. Now, I feel like if Baker Mayfield was in that same position as Russell Wilson, he would have a whole lot higher chance to win a Super Bowl. Now, Cleveland, traditionally the places where quarterbacks go to die. We've heard that sentiment over and over again. Cleveland, they've just not been a very successful franchise. Been on Hard Knocks and everything. I believe they've gotten some fans. People actually want to see Cleveland succeed. People are rooting for Hugh Jackson, myself included. I'd love to see the guy be successful. And I feel like Baker Mayfield will give him the best opportunity to do so. Last night, I don't know who realizes it. If you watch the game, I'm sure they mentioned it. It was the first win Cleveland has had since 2016. They did not win a game at all last year. So it is a monumental step. Colin Cowherd failed to mention that. First game they've won in 2 years almost, or at least a year and a half. And, he just wants to basically diminish anything Baker Mayfield does. And he says he's not trying to do that, but you listen to him, you watch him. He is hell-bent on being correct about Baker Mayfield. He said Baker Mayfield was not going to be very good. He said just depending on if he's got weapons around him. He's in Cleveland. Now, does he have bad players around him? No. But he doesn't have elite NFL talent. Every team in the NFL has got talent. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the spread between the most talented team and the least talented team is not that much. That's why anybody will beat anybody on any given week. And Cleveland, they have average NFL talent. Now, that's not a knock on them. If you look at it unit-wise, offensively, I say average. Defensively, they've actually got pretty good NFL talent, above average NFL talent. I feel like they're a pretty good defensive team. And I believe behind the coaching and leadership they have, they can be really well. They can do really well and potentially get into the playoffs. Baker Mayfield at the helm, I believe, makes them a better team. I'm going to call it right now. I believe they are going to beat the Raiders on the road next week. Of course, Raiders are not doing very well, so you can say what you want. But if you look at Baker Mayfield and what he did last night, he was surveying the field, he was reading the defense, he was going through progressions, and he was absolutely firing the ball to his receivers. One of them hit the guy in the chest, and it just bounced off. I mean, the guy is he is really getting that ball out of there. And he is a competitor. This guy wants to win. And believe me, Cleveland picking him number 1 is a huge deal to Baker Mayfield. He is going to give that organization his complete everything. Okay, this guy is going to compete. He is going to try to get this franchise to the playoffs. And I like their chances. I feel like they may very well be able to get to the playoffs. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Please give me your thoughts on Baker Mayfield, the Cleveland Browns, what you think. I'd love to hear your perspectives. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and hit that subscribe button down at the bottom. It helps me out a lot. And I want to get some dialogue going back and forth with you guys. I want to hear what you guys got to say, what your thoughts are on any of the content on any of my videos. But I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. We got a big weekend of football. Really, really looking forward to it. And everyone have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you guys later. This is Coach Carroll with Sports Banner 38, and I am out.